kind of outcome you expect where 50 heads of state are sitting. Everybody is asked for speak to 1.5 minutes. You speak to for 1.5 minutes. What kind of engagement are you going to get? You're going to get nothing, right? The best that you get is photographs.
This defunct ideology is a defunct ideology. I say Russia did not do its preparation to face this declared war.
Welcome to Drar for Africa, where we dive into the intricate web of global geopolitics and economic transformations shaping our world. In today's episode, we explore the shifting power dynamics as Asia's economic giants rise, and we dissect the heated discussions from the Russia-Africa summit. Join us as we unravel the strategic proposal to counter Western dominance and envisage a new world order. Stay tuned for insights that challenge the status quo and redefine the narrative of global leadership. Drar for Africa is your gateway to understanding the forces driving change across continents. Let's embark on this journey together. Let's begin.
And we need to come up with concrete plans. We will be making our modest contribution, but we have the idea that this, say, the Russia-Africa partnership is one part of the bigger global partnership that will have to be developed. And Russia will have to take the lead because Russia has been targeted and is still targeted. They might dream of using the war in Ukraine now to weaken Russia and probably dream about the same event happening. The collapse of Russia will be a big advantage for them. It's a dream. They're now spending trillions and trillions by printing money to run the show in Ukraine. This will have to end at one point in time, and we need to look beyond that. Our bilateral partnership is based on our understanding on this historic mission of Russia. Russia has a historic mission to play on behalf of everybody in the world. I can say who is the leader of this show. Mr. Vladimir Putin is the leader of the show because of time, because of the challenge that we have. And Russia should take the lead. I'm not flattering anyone. I'm not doing any favor to you. I say this is a global challenge, and we have to this global challenge by identifying the role of each and every one of us in the whole story. Economic program, energy, water, infrastructure, name it. Not the easiest thing one can ever imagine. We'll have a strategy, we'll define the goals and objectives. Once we have a strategy put in place, we'll have detailed plans on each and every sector, each and every industry. We'll mobilize resources for implementing those programs. And we will see that implementing those programs will change the life of everybody in Africa, Asia, Latin America, even Europe and the United States. So our detailed plans for sectoral programs is ready. On each and every sector, we have our own strategic plan. Since 2012, we have designed details of each and every infrastructure program: roads, ports, airports, railway, ropeways, energy programs, water preservation and water management programs, irrigation, introducing technologies. Our human resource development strategy has been there. We discussed it yesterday with one of your ministers. We have at least agreed on the details on how we will go over this, because developing our human resource is a priority for us. There could be other resources, oil, gas, minerals, whatever. But our human resource is our human capital. We need to invest on that, and we can rely on the Russian Federation for developing our capacity to implement developmental programs by guaranteeing the qualified human resource that we need to develop. The details are there. Do we have the money? We'll try to mobilize every single penny. If we can't mobilize this resource, then we'll have come and say to our partners in the Russian Federation. These are our plans. If you have an idea or an opinion, alternatives, we would like to listen. Mobilizing resources is a shared responsibility, and we can mobilize our own resources from whatever is available. Mining, agriculture, manufacturing, we can do that. Thank you for your patience. But this war will have to be clearly defined as a declared war on the part of NATO and its allies. It's been going on for the last 30 years. It will continue for some time, but we'll stop it somehow. And the Russian Federation will have to take the brunt on that issue. This defunct ideology is a defunct ideology. I say Russia did not do its preparation to face this declared war. Even though Russia was aware about the dynamics of what was going on. NATO is defunct. NATO does not exist. NATO is under intensive care. EU does not exist. EU is under intensive care. Now, 30 years ago, when they decided to contain Russia, they felt that was the major threat for them. China was not considered a threat at the time. Now they know. They missed the point. They couldn't contain Russia. They will never contain Russia. Ukraine is a sacrifice. Ukraine is a price they have to pay. They will not pay it on their own. They will provide billions and billions, even trillions, to continue this war. And now we need to have the narrative straight. This is not war between Russia and Ukraine. This is declared war against Russia because Russia was the major threat at the time. Now they can't dominate the whole world. They have to defeat Russia so that they hegemonize everything. No one should be their equal technologically, militarily they have to be superior, economically they have to control everything, grab every resource here and there, technology under their control. That dream is no more. Now the fighting going in Ukraine, it's their battleground. That battleground is a sacrifice for them. And we need to put this straight on the record. When a big meeting like this, Russia, Africa is held, people will have to come to a consensus. This is not war between Russia and Ukraine, to me. And anyone who has a different explanation will have to tell me. This is war declared on Russia, but declared war for hegemony.
I think this notion of international rules is very comfortable for some people to use when it suits them, but they don't believe in international rules when it doesn't suit them, because they don't apply international rules or law equally in all circumstances. So you can't say, because Ukraine has been invaded, that suddenly sovereignty is important, but it was never important for Palestine.
If we don't respect ourselves, nobody is going to respect us. To some other engagement with other countries. Now we are being invited for Russia-Africa summit. We have made a decision, very respectfully as heads of state in Africa, that any engagement with other partners must be an engagement of equals. But what happens? Continuously, when others want to engage with us, they don't want to deal with a troika. They want to invite 50 heads of state. So we go to a meeting, just explain to me what kind of outcome you expect where 50 heads of state are sitting. Everybody is asked for speak to 1.5 minutes. You speak to for 1.5 minutes. What kind of engagement are you going to get? You're going to get nothing, right? The best that you get is photographs. The existing international security architecture, represented by the UN Security Council, continues to hamper efforts to maintain international peace and security.
78 years since its formation, the structure of the United Nations Security Council remains largely unchanged.
The Council is, by all intents and purposes, dysfunctional. undemocratic, non-inclusive, unaccountable, autocratic, and at best, opaque.
Africa and its 1.4 billion people remain excluded from its key decision-making structures.
We know what we will handle our own country. Don't be sorry for us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Every time Westerner comes, it's about Chinese. What is the problem? In Namibia, everybody knows Chinese. Did you tell Namibia and say Chinese have overtaken Namibia? Not on my watch. No. I told Chinese ambassador, yeah, I'm not your puppet. It was impressed everywhere. So please, respect us. That's all I would say. It shows disrespect. That we are children who are going to be cajoled by Chinese or so on. No. Chinese are coming in infrastructure all over Africa. And I saw in America, they are there. Who bailed Americans out from the financial crisis? Chinese money is there. So why small Namibia, who fought Germans, even Germans were fighting with you? You are tough people. Now Chinese will come and after our sovereignty come and decolonize us? You think so? Germans cannot succeed. Even those Germans who are here. So please, at every European country is about Chinese.
South Africa is in alliance with Russia, with India, with Brazil, with China. So why are you asking me as if it's some policy that is going to be implemented after I took over? South Africa is in alliance with Russia now.
South Africa right now calls itself non-aligned.
In the context of the war, but these are two different things. South Africa is an ally of Russia. Now, the second question is, where does South Africa stand on the war? It says I'm a non-aligned in relation to war, but Russia remains South Africa's friend. So we cannot create confusion around there. Don't create an impression that it is Malema who's going to come and create an alliance with Russia.
But there are some very specific...
Actually, I will
so.
go beyond that. I will go beyond the friendship with Russia, and in the war, I will align with Russia, and I will even supply the weapons to Russia. Because Russia is in a war with imperialism, and any agenda that seeks to push back imperialist agendas, it's well within the policies of the EFF.